Welcome back to the Real Couchwives Podcast, where we overanalyze all things Bravo.
Today, we have to start off the pod by talking about some sad news in the Bravo world. Craig Conover and Paige Desorbo have broken up. We are all very sad about this, but it does seem like the best thing for them, according to Paige. She shared a little bit about it on the Giggly Squad, so we're going to fill you in on what she said. We're going to pay our respects and talk about how we're feeling. And then we're going to talk about 2024 a little bit and all the things that we did not see in our bingo card, this obviously being one of them. So that's kind of going to encapsulate the good, the bad, the ugly of 2024 as we move into 2025. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
So we just heard the news, was it right before Christmas or after Christmas? I don't know what time is anymore.
It was right after Christmas, right before New Year's.
Yes, okay. They were just like, Happy New Year, P.S. we broke up.
By the way,
Paige I think this was actually a pretty baller move on her end, and also just like a very genuine move that she broke the news on Giggly Squad.
Yeah, like
this is also
bringing it in, like you can actually hear about it and like actually kind of explain the whole situation ahead of time and get it kind of in front of the narrative, right?
Exactly. And like exactly, like she can take control of what was going on. It was interesting too because her and Hannah, also, sorry for those who might not know where they're coming from, Paige is from Summer House and Craig is from Southern Charm, right? They've been dating the last like 3 years almost, I believe.
Yeah,
and they actually seemed like a super good match. They didn't live in the same area, which I think is one of the biggest problems that, kind of came with the relationship. She's in New York, he's in Charleston. But they did seem really, really well suited for each other. But yes, in this podcast, Hannah, who's her co-host of the podcast, who also was on Summer House, and her were kind of saying that they were nervous because like they always just talk as if they're talking to their gigglers, like they're really in touch with their community, but they're like, I think people who are not gigglers are going to listen to this to get the tea. I actually am a giggler, so I was already listening anyways, but I definitely did go a little bit faster to that episode to hear the tea. So they were almost feeling like a little bit nervous knowing that they were like getting a new audience and like they really wanted to speak properly about it. And yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. It's kind of also like what happened with like Robin Dixon and Giselle Bryant, right? Like when the news came out about Juan kind of like cheating on Robin on Real Housewives of Potomac, and how they were like, oh, we're going to talk about it on our podcast. And so they kind of like, they knew that there was going to be additional people listening to that podcast or like subscribing specifically to their Patreon to be able to hear about the details of that. So
true, but that one felt sneakier because didn't they like keep it off the season the whole time and then they went and put it behind a paywall?
Yes, yeah. Whereas I do think that we will kind of see it a little bit play out. Like we saw the most recent Summer House trailer in like December, where we do kind of see like some of the wheels maybe falling off of Paige and Craig's relationship, and we're kind of also seeing a little bit of that happen. Well, maybe not seeing that happen so much, but we're obviously then like watching. Excuse me, I don't know what just happened.
No, something fall.
Yeah, something just fell. We're also seeing that happen kind of like on the most recent season of Southern Charm as well, because we know that they've broken up, but we're seeing them still together and happy, and you're like, oh no, what are the pieces in between this that lead to this moment?
Yeah, it was definitely it was a sad Southern Charm episode to watch. We'll do a recap of it next week, but just like seeing Craig being like, oh, he's gonna freeze his sperm because like he thinks that Paige is only gonna be ready for having kids in like 3 or 4 years, and he very clearly just like built his house thinking of the family that they were gonna have together, and like asked for her opinion on the rooms that he's making and all of these things. Like I feel like they both really tried to make it work. The writing was a little bit on the wall. Like I think like the moment everyone was like, oh no, we're kind of worried was in Summer House when they were having the conversation of Craig being like, well, you're going to move to Charleston, right? And Paige being like, well, no, you're going to move to New York, right? And then she starts crying. She's like, what am I going to do without my mom?
Yeah.
And I felt that so deeply for her. But
no, totally. Well, yeah, and like even I think from the first season that we had Craig on Summer House, like really on Summer House, I think he was already talking about kind of like marriage and like marrying Paige, and I think it was clear that he was a few steps ahead of her in terms of kind of like that timeline. And I think that there were a lot of ways in which kind of like she was kind of she wanted what he wanted, but they just kind of wanted it maybe on slightly different like timelines as well. Like she does ultimately want to settle down and have children and stuff, but it doesn't seem
Yeah,
like that's anything that she's ready to do now. And he definitely feels like he's much more ready to do that
it's
now.
true. He's also older. Like, I'm sure that
Yeah.
comes into effect as well. Actually, interestingly, on the podcast as well, she did actually say that like your 30s are like so transformative and you change so much. And, you know, she does think that this is the best direction for them because of circumstances that they hadn't seen before. And she talks a little bit about how Giggly Squad is like her everything. And
Yeah.
she puts that over everything. And I think that, not that she chose her business over him, which is kind of what we see in the trailer of Summer House, but her priorities changed. Like I think she probably wasn't able to be in Charleston as much. Like maybe there, it was a little bit weird of a, not weird, but unique of a situation that like they were, I think, flying back to see each other like every week or something. And I remember us commenting like, wow, that's
A lot.
lucky of them to be able to do that, and also a lot.
Yeah.
But then like she had been going on tour with Giggly Squad. I'm sure that took up like so much time. And she also just says that like she has understood who she was and she never felt more like herself than this past year. So it just kind of seems like they put everything out on the table and was like, our lines aren't moving forward in parallel anymore.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like I think she's also been experiencing like quite a lot of success with Hannah, with kind of just like everything that she's been doing. Like I follow her on Instagram. I only see her updates on Instagram, so I must follow her on Instagram. And you know, she like has like just like all these like different opportunities that come to her through like being in New York. She went to like a Victoria Beckham like party or something earlier this year. Like all these like things that she probably, when she maybe started dating Craig, didn't even think that those things would be necessarily possible. And so like now that her life is kind of growing and becoming so much bigger and like going in so many different directions, like the concessions that you maybe think that you're willing to make in year one of the relationship might be very different than the concessions that you might need to be making in year three of the relationship.
Yeah, no, it is true. I'm really curious to see how Craig responds. I'm sure it's going to be equally positive. Like she did say, she's like, it's really sad. I still love him. I think he still loves me. Like he's the best person ever. I'm always going to root for him. And she said he was like the best boyfriend that she ever had, and he was responsible for a lot of the growth that she's had too.
Yeah.
And Hannah was like, you know, the hardest situations to end are the ones like this. Like there doesn't have to be a smoking gun. She's like, there doesn't have to be a Tom Sandoval, you know, to break up a relationship. And I think those are the hardest ones to realize, that ultimately you're just not on the same path. Like you're just not seeing things the same way. And where they're gonna live was obviously a big one, and all these other things. And yeah, like it's sad, but you also do feel like she came at the podcast with a lot of like confidence, just kind of being like, this is who I am, and this is the choice that I'm making, and I'm there here to tell other people who are in similar positions like you have so much time left just because you're in your 30s. She's like, people kept telling me like, okay, aren't you gonna pack it in and like get married? And she's like, you shouldn't be told to pack it in.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's interesting that she kind of brings that up, because you're right. Like sometimes people think that like there's got to be this like big revolutionary thing that happens for a relationship to end, but like I've been in situations where like, you know, a relationship was like the best relationship that you could possibly be in, and yet you just still knew that there had to be something else out there, or there has to be like there's more life for both of you to live, and you're probably gonna like stunt each other if you actually like force each other to stay, versus like going off and like seeing what else is out there. So
Yeah,
it's hard.
it's sad, it's hard, and
it's
that's
very adult.
yeah, well that's it. She's like, I feel like it was really mature conversation, and like just thinking about like what we wanted and what we didn't want.
Yeah.
So we're proud of her. We're sad for them.
Yeah.
Like it's obviously sad to see, but I'm glad that she was able to come out and share it in her own way. There was also some people on the internet are also just being like, Craig is
Crazy.
not Craig is crazy, but like he just loves love. Like every girl he's been in a relationship with, he's been like, this is the love of my life. This is the love of my life. And like, I do think he falls really deeply, and he always talks about her.
Right. Yeah.
And I you know, but maybe then the next person that he meets, it'll just go super quickly, and they'll get married and they'll have kids, and he'll have his white picket fence that I feel like he just wanted for so long.
There you go. They've got to be out there, that's for sure. Yeah, and I do think that like of all the people that Craig really like dated, like, and obviously we only know like the ones that really were played out online, or sorry, on TV screens. Like, I do think that like Paige and him kind of like they both grew for the better and like changed because of like the relationship that they had with each other. So I think this will be like the one that like, you know, he said that a lot about like Naomi and like what was it, like Mathilde or something that he was dating before.
I don't even remember.
Something like that. Madeline? Maybe Madeline. I'm pretty sure it's her with a man. Yeah, so like, or who knows, maybe him and Molly now can like hit it off because she's single, he's single.
Or did you see all the memes of like Naomi running over to Craig's house?
I did see that Naomi is she's in Charleston. She just bought a house herself, and she
Yeah,
has a dog and a cat
good for
named
her.
Omelet. So you know, maybe there's a chance
Her
that they
name
could
was
rekindle
Omelet.
things. Yeah,
That's
it's
really
so
cute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so who knows? Maybe we'll see.
It's gonna be so hard to watch the rest of Southern Charm, though. It's just like,
Yeah,
poor.
big time. And the whole season of Summer House, like now that we know what's happened here.
Yes, I guess we'll probably get, I guess, like a little more clarity, but ultimately, I think we definitely understand what had happened. So, it's Oh man, it's still just it's sad.
It is.
But we will miss them. We will miss chicken that they call each other.
Oh, exactly. What else was on or I guess it was not on your bingo card for 2024, Carrie? Any other Bravo moments?
Well, okay, so what else was not on my bingo card for 2024? Obviously, the end of VPR as we know it. We can't not bring that up.
The end of VPR.
We're basically calling it the end, even though it technically isn't. It's just a new cast, but it's the end of the VPR we know and love. Let's be real.
Yeah, let's be real. Let's be honest. It's a tragedy. No matter what comes out of it next, like it's just not going to be the same. I think is also so upsetting because we knew what last season 11 could have been. And
yes.
We know like the way that it like production kind of like ran it into the ground. Yeah, I really do hold production responsible for just, you know, the way that they played everything out last year. Like, I think that they had such a good opportunity to be able to, you know, continue to view this story and see where things were going and follow these different people in their lives. And instead, they'd really just forced something like completely unnatural to happen. And the fans didn't respond well to it. Like, I think overall the ratings for the season were still like pretty good.
But we were like hate watching at that point.
A little bit. We were just annoyed and we were frustrated, right? And just the fact that like they were like, okay, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna cut our losses and revamp the show entirely with a completely new cast, as if that's what anybody wanted to happen.
Yeah, they are like truly not reading the room right now.
No.
And it's so frustrating because it's like we were all very vocal. Like, I don't understand how they thought in any way this like Sandoval redemption arc was going to work, and even worse, the woman against Ariana. Like, you know, obviously production played a heavy hand in it, but then like Lala followed suit and Sheena followed suit, and like there was it was fake. It felt phony. We all felt like there was something that was like pulled over us. Like we felt lied to. So it was really frustrating. That was definitely the biggest disappointment, I think, to come out of 2024 was just like the utter flop that was Vanderpump Rules season 11.
Yeah, unfortunately. Another thing that I think was not on my bingo card, and maybe it should have been, was the closing of Shorts and Sandy's. Like, we didn't get really fully to like a chance to kind of fully talk about it on the pod, but like that was just like so crazy. Like, just the fact that like it officially is just kind of the end of that era.
Yeah.
And then obviously the fact that I was kind of hoping when I first heard that news, and it was obviously only released like 24 hours before they told us that the Vanderpump Rules like cast wasn't coming back. But I was hoping that that would be like an impetus for like them to be able to like continue to spin the story and like go in a new, different direction. But
I know, we were like, yes, finally they're gonna have a story. This is so exciting. I'm actually excited for VPR to come back. And also, like, the way, like, the different ways in which it was handled by Tom Schwartz and Tom Sandoval, with, like, Tom Schwartz kind of being like, I can feel at peace knowing that I did everything that I could. And Sandoval was just kind of like, this was a stepping stone to better things. Bye!
Onward and upward, I'm sure. Even the fact that like something about her like finally opened and like we're never gonna get to like see that kind of play out on TV the same way that we saw like some of the other counterparts be able to do that. We even saw Jax's Studio City open and like we didn't get to see something about her. It just feels so unjust and unfair.
It's so wrong. And like people dragged it so much. The fact that they didn't open. Like, why couldn't we have seen it?
Like, come on.
And Lisa.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Maybe Lala was just the mouthpiece, but
yeah,
very unfortunate.
It is unfortunate for sure. Very, very frustrated with all of that mess, and we're just gonna have to continue to rewatch old episodes of VPR to feel something.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of feeling lied to, another thing that was kind of not on my bingo card, or maybe was, I don't know how I felt about it going into it, to be honest, was kind of like RHONY season 2 or whatever the heck season we're calling it.
I think technically it's season 15.
Yeah, sure. And just like they also are kind of fumbling the bag, and a really good example of that is a fake prank that took up an entire episode, and also I think kind of had production to blame a little bit as well, because there was another way that you could have shown us this prank and brought us into it earlier instead of pranking the audience.
Yeah, like so the thing is they kind of what they did is that they split that prank over 2 episodes. So they
True, like, right. And you said the second one was better, right?
So and the second one was better. And I think that like if they hadn't split it over 2 episodes and just condensed it into 1 episode, it probably would have played out better. Right. Than it did, because it just kind of it was like, okay, yeah, this whole episode the audience is like allegedly in the dark, except we're not, because we're all on social media. So by the time that I had even watched the episode, I knew that it was a prank.
Yeah,
because I'd seen everybody react to it the night before, because I watched it the next day because of streaming.
Yeah,
so like it doesn't have that impact of actually and then the real kind of like juice of the story is that like Brynn had known all along and like had been playing into it, and that's why she had been kind of like behaving the way that she was. And then it was kind of like the whole back and forth between her and like Aaron, and oh, did she know, did she not know, was she playing it up, what was happening, like that's where it actually was. But they just like edited it so badly because I guess they were so desperate for content that they had to spread things over multiple episodes, and they just ruined it, like
because there's just nothing really going on.
Well, and it like I think it put like a stamp on, or like a stain on the season in general, where like I feel like everybody now is just kind of like tuned out.
It's true, because it wasn't going well to begin with, and then they were like, okay, so like now your main storyline is a prank. Also, for those who aren't watching RHONY, essentially what had happened was there was a kind of big storyline around Rebecca Minkoff. Basically, she was pregnant and her child was not by her husband. It was from a wild night out with multiple people or something that apparently they apparently do. They're super wild and crazy. She's actually not boring. She's so like, anyways. And I guess like Brynn was in on it, and Aaron and Rebecca had like concocted it, and then I guess the point of it was to see the broken telephone kind of rumors going.
Yeah, because basically Aaron tells Brynn and Jessel at lunch one day, and then like uses that as to kind of see like, okay, is it Jessel or Brynn that's gonna kind of like spread the story like wildfire? But then at the end of the like second episode, or the like, because it's explained over 2 episodes, like the time that we get kind of like past like finding out that it's a prank as the audience, in the next episode we find out that Brynn had known all along. And so it's just kind of
like, wasn't it for it to see if she was gonna talk? Oh god!
And then the whole thing just becomes that Aaron's the leaky pigeon, and then it's also this whole thing about pigeons. Like, I just can't. I'm sorry. I'm so annoyed.
Yeah, it's just not giving anything. The season, no. Everyone is way. Give us less.
Give us nothing.
But it's a similar vein of the problem that we're having with VPR, is that it's too manufactured, and it doesn't feel like people are giving us really anything. So at least VPR is doing more than that. So I take it back. I wouldn't put them on the same scale, but like similar themes.
Yeah, similar themes, and just like, and I think if anything, because the RHONY reboot has been so difficult for Bravo, I'm surprised that they would attempt another reboot so close to this. Like,
what else are they rebooting? Jersey?
Well, Well, no, reboot. Well, they're also, they're going to be rebooting.
Oh, VPR, right.
Rebooting VPR, right? Like, why would you do that if you know that you're really struggling with the idea
But
of,
this
like,
is
let's
it.
just demolish an entire cast and start completely from scratch? Like,
I think they're, like, really giving too much, like, emphasis and, like, power of, I guess, like, the premise and not understanding that, like, we have connections with the people, and it was a combination of the two. And also, like, rebooting anything right now, or even starting anything right now, is going to be an uphill battle because people are going to know how to play the game, and we're always as an audience going to be a little bit more clued in and able to realize if someone is playing something up because they think that's what's going to make, like, a good, you know, TV star.
Yeah. And I just don't know what's going to happen there. But
so we'll see. Like, I don't know, look at Southern Hospitality. Like, I do think it's getting more fun and more enjoyable. But it took a while for it to hit its stride, and people are actually saying, like, this third season I think is going to be make or break, because I don't think it's brought in the biggest audience.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think this is a very make or break season for it to kind of, like, okay, you either need to, like, really pop off, or, like, why are we here?
And that too is that, like, I actually think at first, you know, you could go back and watch our episodes. We were confused by it. We were like, am I too old for this? Who are these people? I don't understand.
Yeah.
It all just feels like a little bit much. But then I feel like once you kind of, like, get into the world and you're, like, okay with it, you're like, okay, this is fun. It's entertaining. I don't know if I'm, like, I'm not really invested in any of them one way or another, the way that you would be with the VPR. But I think it's more fun than at the beginning I originally expected. But they put too much bank on Leva. Leva's the face of it, and people just don't. It's not even that we don't care about Leva. Like, we don't know anything about Leva because she gives us literally nothing on Southern Charm.
She's not even on the show. Like, I just don't understand. She's not on either of these shows. So, like, why are we pretending that she's on either of these shows? Like,
but I think that was a miscalculation on their end, is they put too much of it as, like, this is Leva's show. Look at Leva's, like, club. And they should have been like, look at the club that was the foundation of Southern Charm.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, exactly. Because I know nothing about Leva. I know that she has a child. I know that she has a husband, and that's basically about it. Like, there's nothing.
Sometimes they make cookies and don't go to cast trips.
Well, there you go.
So I don't know what's going on with Bravo right now, and it's a, like, kind of inability to, like, understand what the viewers want. Yeah. When I feel like we're pretty vocal.
Yeah, we're very vocal. We're a very vocal bunch. We do not hide our opinions.
Yeah, for good or for bad.
Exactly, for better or for worse. One thing that I do, on, like, a happier note, one thing I do think has really performed, and I didn't necessarily see this coming this year, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Particularly Dorit's kind of revival of old school messy Dorit from season 7.
Oh, yes. It's true. Yeah, I didn't see that coming at all, and I am very excited about it.
Yeah. I think I was, like, pretty happy with, like, the idea that, like, Beverly Hills would be kind of, like, status quo, like, you know, we'll probably get, like, a pretty normal season. It won't be necessarily too, like, lackluster or whatever, but it was actually been so good. I'm so excited for it to come back next week. I'm obsessed.
It's really good. But and it's not even just Dorit. Like, honestly, Dorit could have carried this entire season. Just having Dorit hold Kyle accountable is, like, yes, like, this is what we've been waiting for. She is literally leaving it all on the table. But then there's also Kathy and who is the
Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah, Jennifer Tilly, who are both just, like, so kooky and so insanely rich.
Yeah.
The reason I say insanely rich because it's just, like, they don't need this show, right? Like, they're literally just here for a good time, and that's evidence.
Yeah, and they're not, like, as in it as, like, you know, somebody like a Sutton or something. Like, Sutton technically doesn't really need the show either, right? Like,
it's true.
Fine with or without it. But I think Sutton now very much, like, loves the experience of being on Housewives. And I think that, like, Jennifer or Kathy, like, it could go away tomorrow and they'd just be as happy. Like, I don't know if they, like, they're not, like, as, like, tuned in to kind of, like, fan reactions and, like, different things in exactly the same way.
It's true. And okay, I don't know if this is because they're just so unfathomably wealthy, but I feel like there is a different way that these two, like, that Kathy and Jennifer Tilly are, like, conducting themselves. Like, they're just, like, there's, I don't know, kooky is the only kind of word that comes to mind, but
Yeah.
they're just so carefree, and in a way
Yeah.
that I don't think one could ever be unless you were
Right.
that
Like if
level.
you didn't have anything to worry about in your entire life, like really.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest here.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
like, it's so interesting.
It's
And
so
it
true.
brings
Because
like a fun.
even when like Jennifer was like having like the girls over to her house, and it's like not even her house, it's like her party house or whatever. And she's like, she doesn't have a butler, but she has a friend who she's gonna be like, oh, you pretend to be the butler. You're like, that's gonna be your role today. Like that's just weird. Like that's a strange thing.
I still just can't get over that she owns part of The Simpsons. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
why, but
I
that
think
is
about
like,
that all the time
it's
now.
so crazy.
It's like, what are you talking about?
And it's such like a colliding of worlds of that like I wouldn't expect in like a
No.
housewife.
No. Well, and I even, because it's like Christmas time and on Disney they have like all the Simpsons episodes, and so I actually started watching The Simpsons, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, there's like her ex-husband's name, and it's so interesting to see that on every episode now.
It is really good. Okay, keeping on the upward trend,
Yeah,
things that weren't on our bingo card is
Good
how
stuff.
hard Summer House went this year.
Did it deliver? This was a crazy season.
Yeah, Summer House, I think, kept us afloat during the uncertain times of VPR.
Yeah. And it's another one too where it's like ultimately it's about the demise of a relationship. So it's kind of like dark to be like
It's
reveling
true.
in it.
It's true.
But like it was so good. It was such a good season. Weston's Jesse kind of like joining the cast were amazing in like so many different ways. Like Weston Kyle like spooning on the bed together because they were both just like too drunk to like actually go to bed, and Jesse and like his like little songs and just being like a weird oddball kind of character.
Yeah.
It was so fun. It was so endearing.
Jesse came in, like the first episode we were like, who is this douche?
Who is this guy? What is this? What do we got here?
And now I think we all love Jesse Solomon. Like,
yes, 100%. He's won us over.
What would Jesse Solomon do?
Jesse Solomon do?
They were both really good additions to the cast, and Summer House has really had a hard time finding new people that come in and gel so well with the group, especially because like they're kind of getting flimsier and flimsier on like the connections that they need to even like pretend that they have to bring these new people in. And I think those two were actually an example of that. Wes was like, well, sometimes I would see Lindsay out clubbing.
That's just it. Like as these people all got like further and further away from actually having like real jobs in New York City, like their connections to New York City people like in their age bracket and stuff like became smaller and smaller. And so there was no way. It was like when Paige and Hannah joined, they both kind of like worked for like, was it like Betches or Bustle?
It was one of the ones like that, yeah.
And like they kind of had that connection to like Jordan or something, like, and Amanda.
Yeah, no,
and,
he
like,
worked there
designers.
too. I think they all worked there,
so,
and they were friends with Amanda,
so
or at least
all
Paige
kind of,
was.
like fit together, but like now that they're all just kind of like Bravolebrities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was also surprised that Sam didn't come back, but like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I wonder if the whole Corey thing kind of worked against her on that one.
Maybe,
right?
Which would be really shitty because I would hate that like her, future was impacted by this freaking man-child.
Disgusting human being.
But
I could say so myself.
Then I have to say I don't think I missed her on it. Like it's not like there was like a gap, although I think she still would have been fun on it.
Yeah.
And then you kind of I only listened to one episode of her on a podcast.
Yeah.
I forget who it was with. And when she said that what was it? She said something along the lines of like she podcasted before it was a thing, or like she was the original do you remember? Like it was
she one of those, there are always people who are like, oh, I'm the original vlogger, like nobody was,
or maybe it was that
like,
maybe it was that. I was like, I was vlogging.
She was like, it was like an influencer, right? She was like, I was making money on Instagram before anybody else was
like she literally was like, I actually started it, and it was like, girl, influencing. Yeah, I remember listening to that one podcast and being like, I don't think I'll be listening to your own podcast.
Oh, does she have her own podcast? I didn't know that. Interesting I wonder how many like podcasts have come out of like Bravo, because I feel like every once in a while a Bravo person will just like make a podcast and then they like just disappear and you never hear about them again. Like didn't Sierra and Maya have one?
Yeah, I guess they're
Is that-
stopped when Maya wasn't on Summer House anymore.
Okay, so
I
that's
think
that was
codependent.
that. Right, yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. There's a lot of those coming up.
Yeah.
But yeah, Summer House was incredible. And it wasn't just, obviously it was the Carl and Lindsay stuff, but it was also just like the cast was actually having fun, and that's really what had been missing in Summer House.
Yeah.
I am so excited for this next season. Like,
I'm so
my
excited.
gosh.
Though we've just had that whole little thing about like Wes and Jesse like being such good additions, I am concerned about these two new random people coming in. I'm just like, did we need another two people? But maybe that's how I felt last year, so we'll see.
Yeah, and the new girl too looks like she's gonna go after Sierra, and it's like, I don't think that's something you want to do.
No, good luck, girl.
Especially if it's about Craig Carl.
Yeah,
like
Carl.
I think the reason she's going after Sierra is because it looks like Carl. Oh no, sorry, it's not Carl.
Jesse.
It's Jesse. It's Jesse.
Yeah,
oh man, I'm getting my tall men mixed up.
Very fair. Yeah, like it's just, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Maybe it'll provide some good drama, but
yeah, I don't think they needed new people. That's the thing. Like, I feel like we were in a good place.
I felt like it would have been, and I feel like the drama left over from whatever happened with Wes and Sierra was going to be enough, but maybe it wasn't.
And well, we're gonna get the Craig and Paige, kind of like some trouble in paradise. Yeah. We're gonna get pregnant Lindsay, which side note, so definitely not on our bingo card.
Definitely not on the bingo card. Did not see that coming, but absolutely love it for her.
So happy for her.
And she's already had her baby too.
She has. Gemma, I think is her name.
Yeah, which is so cute. I love that.
I'm so happy. I am very happy for her. She just went on a podcast that I actually really like. I think I told you about. It's called Talk Money. No, that's not what it's called. Hold on. Let me.
Money to me?
Is it called Talk Money to Me? I don't think that's what it's called.
Could be.
But gosh, what's it called?
I'm not familiar with that one.
It's called Trading Secrets. Talk Money to Me is literally nothing close to the name. I think maybe they say that as a slogan or something. Maybe. It's embarrassing.
That's okay.
It's by Jason Tartick. He was like on The Bachelor, and then he was engaged to that other girl possibly on The Bachelor, and then they had a podcast together. They broke up. Anyways, okay. It's really interesting because he interviews a lot of Bravolebrities and other people too, but it's financial based, so you get like a much different perspective than you're used to hearing people talk about.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So it's really good. Like Kyle's been on it. A couple of housewives have been on it.
Cool.
I do like it. He's a good host as well. And anyway, so Lindsay was just on it, and she actually was saying a little bit about like how this all happened, and she started dating a new guy, and then after 3 months of dating, she got pregnant.
Crazy.
I didn't realize it was that soon. I guess if you did the math, you would like be able to walk that back. But
yeah, I think
that's
wild. That it was pretty soon, but yeah, good for her.
3 months, and they were just kind of like, she always wanted to have a kid, so I think she was like just coming at it as like not a co-parenting only, but she was just kind of like, let's like not even worry about the relationship part of it. Like, let's just like do this. But then I think they just ended up being really good together anyways. So amazing. Good for her, honestly.
I love that for her. That's a happy ending finally.
Right. I do hope Craig is okay. Carl, Jesus, why? There's too many.
I feel like Carl's gonna have like a couple weird floundering years. Like, I don't know if he's gonna be. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, didn't he like launch his sober bar, and then like we just don't hear anything about that? Really?
Oh, really? I follow him on Instagram also, and
I don't think I do.
He talks about it a lot. It's called Soft Bar, so I guess I see a lot of promotion for it. But
yeah, I guess they can have like the non-alcoholic lover boy in there.
Yeah, totally. So I don't know if you saw this, but the Surgeon General just called for cancer warnings to be on alcohol bottles. So could be, a good time to be getting into the alcohol-free business. Maybe. So there you go.
Interesting.
Something happening there maybe for Carl. I don't know.
I didn't know that, but
it literally happened. Like I just saw it on my news, like breaking news kind of thing.
Breaking news. You heard it here first.
I don't know if it was breaking news, but like it came through in my email as like, hey, this is No, it is. It's breaking news.
Okay.
The New York Times. It's on my email. I won't show it to you, but I promise. Lol.
Okay, actually, that's
Anyway.
like a bit of a good segue into something that is really well. Just talking about alcohol. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna take the opportunity to segue that.
Yeah, go for it.
It's a hard one to talk about. Mm-hmm. Something that I feel like is not on my bingo list and needs to stop happening is these DUIs that we're seeing coming out of the Bravo community, specifically Karen from Potomac's. I have to be honest, I'm not watching Potomac this year.
Yeah.
I kind of remember hearing that she was involved in a DUI.
Yeah.
But not like looking much into it. And then I saw that they came out with the footage of what had actually happened. And it is really bad. It's really bad. She is wasted out of her mind, like the police footage.
Yes. Yeah. I have to admit, I started watching Real Housewives of Potomac this season, and like it was a lot of Karen basically saying like, I think she says that there was like a deer or something that like came out into the road, and so she swerved, and she just happened to like run into a tree because of that, and she really downplays it. And then in comparison, like watching kind of like the actual footage of what got released from the police body cam, you're just like, oh no, like you're fully, and like the fact that, you know, like Ray kind of like came to her aid and like was like talking for her on her behalf, trying to like minimize the situation. Like that's
awful.
It feels like she needs help. Like you should know that you shouldn't be drinking when you shouldn't be driving when you're at that level of intoxicated. Like that's,
but it's just like insane. There's so many problems with it. Yeah, that literally unforgivable. That's really bad. That's really, really bad. Mm-hmm. Also, some of the things she was saying, like in this footage to the policeman was ridiculous. Like awful. Like, and just like she pulled do you know who I am? She literally comes out of the car and she's like, I'm lit. And the officer is like, yes, you are. Like, she's like stumbling.
I'm the Grand Dame of Potomac, don't you know?
She's like talking to herself, or she's talking to like Thomas Jefferson or something. Like, I don't, it's just like, it's so weird. Yeah. And to know that this is what happened and to then go on your show and try to play victim is so bad.
Yeah. And I can only say that in her defense, she was so intoxicated, she probably didn't really know what happened. So
that's true.
Obviously, she would kind of try to downplay it.
Do you not think that she had seen that footage? Like, do you not think that, like...
I don't know if she would have seen that until...
So you think she might have just been truly shocked?
She might have just been like, I'm pretty sure this is what happened. Like, I seem to remember. This is all I can remember from the night of the incident. There was a deer, and I swerved, and I hit a tree, and that's all that happened. Nothing else.
Yeah. No notes. That was really bad.
Yeah, very, very upsetting.
Bad that it happened, bad way of handling it.
Yes.
So I think we need a happy thing now, though, because I just brought that really dark.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with a happy thing. Well, I think my happy thing for the year, a little happy accident that I didn't see coming, was Salt Lake City, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Technically, Salt Lake City ended at the beginning of 2024, right? Like the season finale was like the week right after New Year's Eve.
Yeah, the crazy season finale.
Yeah, the crazy season finale of like the receipts in the timeline. And so like that's crazy. But I think there was a lot of concern after that happened that there was no way that season 5 could kind of carry on from what they started in season 4, just because like Monica was being taken away from the cast. They were like, okay, well then like what's the drama gonna be? Like all you have is just like these like random people that like are kind of drama-less.
Yeah.
But they brought in Bronwyn. They brought in Brittany. You know, I think while Brittany's not my favorite, I do think, you know, they've at least brought in enough people to kind of like change the shuffle and the dynamic of the group. And season 5 has actually been a really good season for Salt Lake City, I think.
It's been really, really good. And also like with Brittany, it's like you can't not feel anything towards her. Like she definitely like... You feel things. They might not be good things, but you feel, right? You're not like indifferent to her.
Yes.
Like
she's definitely something. She will definitely make you form an opinion.
She will. She's oh gosh, it's bad. And with hers too, it's like I try not to be too judgmental because I do think that there's so much of like just like the Mormon culture that's clearly very ingrained in her, and like the way that like you need to find a man and like that is your role and your purpose. Yeah. But the desperation levels are real hard to watch.
The desperation levels, this whole thing with like I know that I've like gone on to you and like will wax poetic or whatever about this, but like the idea that like Jared Osmond is like anybody in this world, it's just like as if that matters to anybody outside of like the Salt Lake
No,
City like,
literally.
circumference. Like nobody, like who, like Donnie Marie, like barely. I'm sorry.
It's so weird. It's so strange. And then the way that they come out on social media being like, this is my person. See all you haters, like look at me now. It's like, no.
And the fact that I now fully believe that he's like just with her because he's like, oh, this has given me like an extra little bit of boost of fame because, you know, my cousins or whatever that I'm related to have fame, and now the person that I'm dating has fame, so she's now more valuable to me than she was before when she was just like some random person that I was like seeing.
Yeah, this man's inflated sense of self must be like wild. But no, I am really enjoying the season. I think it's really interesting too that like the husbands are so involved this season.
Yes, yeah, there's a lot of husband drama.
Let's talk about the husbands. Yeah.
No, I think overall really pleased with Salt Lake City, so that's a nice one to be able to say. Didn't see it coming, that's for sure.
No. What else?
Well, I mean, I guess there were some cancellations that also happened in 2024. So we found out that Winter House wasn't coming back. That was the first winter that they didn't film a Winter House in the last couple of years.
I was kind of surprised that Winter House wasn't coming back because I thought it was fun. Like obviously it's not going to be like the one that you're like, oh my god, yes, like Winter House. But I thought I enjoyed last season and it actually showed me new characters that I then went back and like watched their shows because I liked them.
I watched all of Below Deck because of Winter House.
I went in real hard. You went in harder.
I went in so hard, like
it's so hard. True. We literally that's a new franchise that we discovered because of Winter House.
I had no idea who any of those people were, and I now know all of those people, and I'm actually surprised that these people weren't on as many seasons as I thought they were. Alex was on one season, Katie was on one season, Malia was on like 2 seasons.
Katie was not only on one season. What?
She was on like Katie. I'm pretty sure she was only a Chief Stew for one season.
Wow.
Maybe 2.
I went back and like
sure it was only 1.
I started my watching at the seasons where Katie and Malia were on because I was like, I want to see this. So
see these people.
I feel like I mean, I haven't done a poll. I don't know how many other people did that, but I have to imagine that was their goal. So I feel like out of all the shows to cancel, like I just don't really understand why they chose that one. And it feels pretty low stakes, right? Like you put a bunch of people in a house for like 2 weeks in the winter, like the end.
Exactly. It seems like so easy. Like you rent a house for less time and less money probably than you have to rent it for in Summer House. And you just like fill it up with a bunch of like, you know, young Bravolebrities, let's say, plow them with alcohol and see what happens. Like, come on, guys. That's the tried, tested, and true formula for most reality TV. That's what you do. So I was upset about that. And then also another cancellation that happened was Summer House Martha's Vineyard, unfortunately. But
that one I don't know if I have feelings about that one. Like I watched it and it was it was fun. I guess a similar kind of fashion, but I think that one was probably even harder because like it's entirely new, so probably just didn't find an audience. Whereas at least with Winter House, like it's people that you already know.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, Bravo, I think giving up a little bit too early on those ones, in my personal opinion.
It's true, because really, like, first season is very much just, like, being introduced to new people. Second season, you're, like, coming into your own a bit. Yeah. And isn't it usually third season where it, like, hits its stride?
Like, I think so. Even season 3 of, like, Vanderpump Rules is, like, such a good third season, and like season 3 of RHONY is such a good third season.
It's true, but Vanderpump Rules was incredible.
Yeah,
like look at season 2. Season 2 that's the Kristen Tom revelation, right?
Kristen and Jax revelation. Yeah.
Yes, Kristen and Jax.
Yeah, but like even like season 3 is like Miami Girl. Like I feel like that's like a really like classic season.
True. Or like look at like Southern Charm. Like Southern Charm, like the first season was like unbearable.
Yeah, probably for a good portion of people. Even season 2 is pretty hard to watch because when Thomas and Catherine are still together, and you're just like, oh my god, why are you guys still together?
It's so true. I feel like they This is the thing, is like maybe they're thinking we don't have that much of an attention span or like ability to stick with something, so they pull it too early, but then they keep other things on far too late. So it's just like,
that's just it. Like Real Housewives of New Jersey getting like 18 seasons. Like Martha's Vineyard couldn't get one more.
Isn't that like everyone talks about how Andy like loves Teresa?
Yeah.
So maybe there's something there. Oh, okay. So just a random one that feels like it fits on this list and it just happened is Andy Cohen on like New Year's Eve.
Just being iconic.
Just being so wasted.
Yeah. Did you see the thing about the umbrella? Him apparently being like so upset that like Ryan Seacrest would be able to have an umbrella, but like he wasn't allowed to have an umbrella. No. So he like apparently spent the last year like petitioning, I don't know, whatever thing that like regulates CNN on New Year's Eve to be able to like get an umbrella, and so like he got like an umbrella this year. It was like,
oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. I guess it was raining like 2 or 3 years ago, and so he needed an umbrella and he couldn't have one.
He's so funny. Honestly, I think he was a great host. He's hilarious. He was like kind of unhinged. I only watched it for like 20 minutes, like right before the ball dropped.
That's the perfect amount.
But I don't know, he's having a good time. He's used to that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it was pretty
like fun for to like see like he and like Anderson Cooper like kind of like playing.
It's so cute. Their friendship is so cute. I didn't see this live, but did you see? Apparently, he was like asking Diplo literally stuff about his like drug use or like...
No. I did not see that. I saw something else about Diplo though, but I can't remember what it is now.
Yeah, apparently it was just like unhinged. But I thought they kind of got like a slap on the wrist for being too drunk like a little bit ago.
They did. 3 years ago he was true drunk, so they were like, okay, no alcohol. And so last year I think that they were not allowed to have alcohol, and then I think this year they were like, well, you can have a little alcohol. Okay, you can have a little bit.
They're trying to figure out what like the right spot
is. The right balance. Yeah, exactly. Another big thing that kind of happened this year, and probably like the biggest, like, well, I don't know about that, but is the Jax and Brittany divorce, which like wasn't on the bingo card because they've stayed together for so long, and like she's kind of put up with like so much stuff.
Yes.
But I guess is also maybe should have been on the bingo card because of what we saw in the Valley season 1.
That's exactly it. Like, I just never thought it would happen. Like, I feel like she's just put up with so much from this man that like I am a little bit shocked and very proud that she finally, said that's enough.
This is it. Time is up. So that was a good thing to get to see.
It was, and I'm excited to see what happens on the Valley season 2. Oh my gosh, how do we not have this one? What? Not on my bingo card was how hard the Valley went. The Valley was so good, and we had the lowest of expectations, which maybe played in their favor. Yeah. But it was great. I enjoyed that more than VPR this season.
It was this year. Fun. It was just you're right. It was enjoyable. It was unexpected. It was kind of showing us like a different like time of life than I guess we kind of like expected, which was what was kind of nice about it. Like the housewives are usually like a little bit older and their children are a little bit more grown. Like these are very much like people with like newborns,
young kids,
very young children.
Yeah.
And kind of like dealing with like some of the tumultuous things that kind of come out of that, and like the different relationship dynamics that come out of that. So that actually was really good.
And the cast was really well chosen. I think it's so funny. I think a lot of us are just like eating our words. Like I literally remember we talked so much smack about their show. We're like, who asked for this? Who are these random people? I don't care about you. Why are we looking at Jax? Why are we being
like season 2?
Now we're like, yeah, so excited for season 2. Like that feels like something we could rely on. But also the way it was packaged was super weird. Like the whole like trading in baby bottle service for baby bottles. It's like, sir, you are in your 40s. Like none of us cared about that. And I feel like they didn't really show us the craziness that was the two relationships imploding, but I guess they wanted to keep it close to his chest and like have it be a surprise. But like if it wasn't for that, like I don't know if people would have watched. Like I think I started watching because people were like, oh my god, this is so good. Sorry, my dog is throwing around a very loud bone.
That's okay. No, I think you're right. I think like the 10-second snippet of kind of like this is the elevator pitch of the show kind of feel like a little hokey, but it actually ended up being such a good premise that it just worked, right? Like it was
Yeah.
actually kind of perfect. And yeah, I'm really excited for season 2 to come out so we can see what's going on, catch up with our favorite characters, see some of our less favorite characters.
So overall, how did you feel about Bravo 2024?
Overall, I'd say I think it's pretty positive. I feel like I'm like pretty happy. Like I'm obviously sad to see some things going away, but I think maybe it's just that the year has ended so strongly with like Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and Southern Charm. Like I feel like overall, plus the fact that we have like Summer House to look forward to.
Yeah.
Like I think that's kind of like keeping me going and like making
It's
me feel
true.
good. I
It's
just feel like
true.
there was like, yeah. How
There
about
was a
you?
big lull in the middle.
Yeah.
I feel like starting, because VPR started like at the beginning of the year-ish, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I feel like starting off with that kind of put a damper on it. And then there was like a long period of like nothing. We did have Summer House at least. So I feel like last year was also just like such a banger that I feel like it's hard to compare to the year before.
Yes.
And it was also coming off of such a dark and heavy year for Bravo that like 2023 was like so good that I think it was like a little bit hard to reach those expectations for me, but I still enjoyed it. And I am really excited about the rest of Southern Charm. I'm actually excited to see Southern Hospitality, which just came out.
There you go.
And super excited for Summer House. Want to see the rest of Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
I need to catch up on the end of Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think overall we're excited for next year, but I do hope that some changes start to be made and like Bravo starts to like really listen to what people are wanting and not just kind of pushing. I don't even know where these agendas are coming from, to be honest.
Yeah, I think they have a difficult it's a difficult role for them to play because I think they have to like balance the books. I think some of these people were getting very expensive.
True.
Like ad buying, TV in general is just not what it once was, and I think we're seeing the repercussions of that maybe a little bit, and
Yeah, no, that's a very good point.
see where it ends us up.
I also think we might need to start watching The Traitors, especially now that like
Yes.
Okay, I don't want to watch it for Sandoval because F that guy, but I want to watch it for the way that other people are going to react to Sandoval and shun him.
Yes. 100%.
Like Sierra and Dorinda and Robin, like I want to see that.
I do think it'll be interesting.
Also highlight the challenge.
Oh yeah, the challenge was really good this season.
Yeah, season 40. I listened to all the podcasts about it too. We still need to do a challenge episode. Die Hard the challenge over here.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, lots of excited things to go into 2025. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thank you so much for being on this journey with us. Let us know, what was your highlight of 2024? What did you not see on your bingo card? And what are you excited for next year?